Namaste and welcome to Dragonfly Cookery and Knives. So this is the final video, the conclusion of what turned out to be a 5-part video on these 4 cookeries. Now the question that originally came was, can I compare the Work Tough Gear Siddha Kukri with 2 other name brands, which was the Cold Steel Gurkha Kukri and the Condor tool and knife cookeries. So we started off with the desktop, just an overview of the cookeries, what I thought were good about the designs, and in comparison, a little background on the designers and the companies. And this one was to be about performance, and so I wanted to show you just with some quick demonstrations of how these cookeries perform. Now, we started off with the Cold Steel Kukri. We batoned with it. We saw how it separated the wood for splitting. Because of its thick spine and its flat grind, that's a V grind that comes down to a very good edge, that geometry really facilitates in splitting that wood. Now, saber grind would do the same, except that once it splits, you have that maybe a little bit more pronounced angle than a long gradual angle that will facilitate that form of splitting wood better. But with this robust spine, this still did a very good job in separating that wood if you needed to baton with it, which means that you could really use this for setting up a camp, doing your processing your firewood, getting it ready for the fire, splitting logs, also for building a shelter. So on that sense, you could baton with it. It has a this one has a distal taper that comes right down to the tip, and when you look at that tip is pretty narrow. So this would indicate this is the weakest area where it was most likely to break. And when you baton on a knife and you're batoning on that tip, you're now putting that tip at risk of breaking. Well, even though we only did it one time in batoning, it held up extremely well. It didn't bend, it didn't, and the cutting edge is as razor sharp at the front as it is in other parts of the cookery. So batoning, it did extremely well. Then we went against the grain of wood. We did 20 chops. It was the first one to be tested, so the wood wasn't as stressed as we were hitting it, but it cut very deep. Very easy to control those cuts. I was able to get them on target very, very easily. The cookery has a good balance and good weight to it, good weight forward physics to it, to where me with my bumped shoulder, I'm still able to swing this cookery and get some good penetration and do very well. We also cut some paper afterwards, before and after, and she was just as sharp before and after doing that, as well as with those 2 cuts and things. Now, with the heavy-duty cookery by Condor Tool and Knives, again, you got a nice thick piece of steel. Now your blade geometry changes a little bit, where it's flat on the sides, and then you have the V grind or the saber grind that comes down to the convex edge. So for batoning, it split the wood really nicely, and almost as like what you would expect from an axe. Now, granted, an axe is heavier and it's wedged differently, so it's designed for splitting wood, whereas a cookery is designed to do a lot of other tasks along with splitting wood. However, these smaller cookeries can fill the task of being a small hand axe. So they're very good in that capacity. When we went against the grain, although they didn't go as deep, they didn't penetrate as deep as the Cold Steel Kukri did or as Siddha Kukri did, they both performed the same, and they both were able to get through that material without any edge damage at all. And maybe just take a little bit longer, but then they are shorter blades. But with that weight, it helps. Unfortunately, the weight, especially for this one, is more in the handle. Then when we got into doing the feathers and the push, and I was doing the chopping, it did very, very well on all of these. They shaved the wood and left nice clean surfaces. All 4 of them did. And that's exactly what you want. Even with the heavier kukri, you're more likely to break that wood and smash the wood than you are to cut it. So when you have a really good edge, like these convex edges, they do a great job in slicing that wood rather than breaking the wood or smashing it, like I said, even if it's you got some weight behind it. So they did very, very well with that. And you know, if I wanted to do a tent stake and I needed to chop out, put a point on it, I could do it very easily with these over and over and over again, and I'm going to get the same results. So very good there. There we go. Now the difference between the two, you know, one I used a lanyard and I had the handle wrapped in tape, where the other one was micarta. So my experiences with these 2 kukris is that neither of them rolled in my hand when I was chopping. They performed very, very well, and I was very pleased. Very grippy. Didn't feel like I was going to lose the kukris out of my hand at any given time. Now, granted, this is a short test, and I'm not working with them all day long, where now I'm dealing with calorie expenditure and muscle fatigue, hand fatigue. If I were doing that all day long, which I've used all of these kukris, and I can tell you that they do very good as far as keeping your hand nice and comfortable. Now with the Siddha Kukri, get it out here, she performed in par with the Cold Steel Gurkha Kukri. She batoned the wood very well. She and then when I chopped right through a knot in the wood, which took a little bit longer, but it left a nice smooth area where I could rub my hand across it, my fingers across it, have no fear of splinters. So it wasn't breaking the wood, it was slicing the wood, and sliced right through that knot. So she did very good there. All of these, and she's another one that has a distal taper and comes to a fine, small tip. And batoning against that tip, you would think that I would be endangering to breaking that tip. We also saw that when she was being batoned, that she was starting to bend a little bit because of the twist in the wood. And yet, she's a very straight blade. The tempering is done exceptionally well to where all these blades stay true. Now, when you have a thick blade like this and it's thick all the way, you're not going to have that problem of it twisting on you. It's pretty rock solid. Where when you have distal tapers on your kukri, you do have some danger of that. And that's why differentially heat-treated kukris that you get from Nepal work very well, is because the spine is left softer so it can flex and move. Where the edges, it needs to be hard and be able to go through material very well and keep a sharp edge. Now with these, both all 3 of these are production blades, so they have not only been hardened, but they have been tempered, which means they've been put in an oven at lower heat for a length of time to get the crystallization and everything just right for these blades, so that you could flex them. You could, if you see Cold Steel's videos, they'll put this in a vise, and they'll take a pipe and put it on the handle, and then they'll flex it and then bring it back. And it's the tempering of this steel that really allows that to happen. And all of these have an excellent temper to them, and it's been proven that. So they're very good. And which one do I think is the best? Well, I will tell you my first choices would be these 2. And I say these 2 because I think they're very equal to one another. They hold up, they perform extremely well. There's things I like about this more than I like about this as far as the handle design and the comfort, and I can finger choil, but I've also been using this for a long time, and I'm very familiar with it, and that familiarity gives me a great deal of confidence in it. So when I pick it up, I already have a lot of muscle memory with it. I'm well acquainted with this tool, and as you get to know your tools, you'll favor them. And this is definitely a kukri I favor a lot. And it's more of a go-to kukri than these are, even though these are really great kukris. It's just I use this longer, and it feels more comfortable. So this was and has been my #1 production kukri that I've enjoyed using over the years. Cold Steel makes an outstanding product, and I know that Lynn Thompson isn't going to put it out there if he didn't have the confidence and belief in it himself that this would hold up under all the punishments that you put it through. And that goes for Joe Flowers too. Joe Flowers designed these, and he expects them to perform a certain way, and these do perform outstanding. They're excellent. All in all, any of these tools that are sitting on this stump, if you were to choose them, it would be hard to get something better. They are the best that are out on the market right now. The only one that I would put on this stump with these would be the B.K. Becker and the Ontario Kukri. Those two companies have two outstanding kukris that could go on this stump as well, especially the B.K. Becker. However, all of these that I have on this stump here, you don't have to upgrade. Nothing. They're all come, except for this one, which I mentioned in my in my tabletop review, that this one had needed some improvement. But when you take that into consideration with what they did do in improvement with the K-Tact Kukri, these three kukris right here don't need anything that you would have to do in improvement. They're all exceptionally good, straight out of the box kukris that you could just add things to. You could do your 2-knife carry system. You could add pouches, and you could strap them to your gear, and you can do a lot of things. They're very versatile, and straight out of the box, they're ready to go, and you'll be very happy with them. And that's where the B.K. Becker lacks, because to get the B.K. Becker Reinhardt Kukri to this standard, they would have to automatically sell it with the micarta handles, not an aftermarket purchase. It would need to come with a Kydex scabbard, or at least a polypropylene scabbard like Cold Steel does, that allows different lashings, and that would need to be included with it when you purchase it straight out of the box. So if that were the case, then it would be in par with these. Otherwise, it's under par because you have to do upgrades to it to get it to be as good as one of these kukris here as far as a total package. The blade itself, with the micarta handles, it would perform right up with these blades, and it would be one that I could equally recommend on these. So if you're looking for a kukri that's ready to go, you don't have to upgrade. All three of these kukris right here, the Work Tough Gear, Siddha Kukri, the Gurkha Kukri, which will be the Gurkha Kukri Plus when it comes out by Cold Steel, and the K-Tact Kukri by Condor Tool and Knives. These are straight out of the box, ready to go, excellent tools, and they will perform extremely, extremely well for you. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully that gives you some good input as to how to make a good quality decision for what you're going to be adding to your kit next. And you can't go wrong with these tools. Please like and subscribe on my YouTube page. Leave any questions or comments there, as well as visit me on my Facebook page at Blue Dragonfly Trading Post. Leave questions, suggestions, or comments there as well. Please visit my website at dragonflykukriandknives.com, where you will find excellent custom designed kukris from Nepal and of my own design available to order. We can custom and make them according to your liking. Now I'm going to whet your appetite with just a brief tease here. I'm going to do a demonstration and introduce to you the King Kukri Machete by Condor Tool Knives, and I'm going to compare it with the Sequoia Kukri made of my design, made in Nepal. And we'll do a comparison with these because this one has a chira So I'm going to compare it with a Sarapati style kukri with chiras, and it has a Western style handle like this does. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and namaste, God bless, and thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.